But yes, today's topic is the Kerbal Polar Expedition 4. And
Yeah!
thank you.
It's
Yeah.
happening. Everybody
It's
shut up.
happening. Ah.
All right, you three
It's
can
happening,
clap.
yes.
Everybody else be quiet. Okay, that's good.
That's more like it. Thank you. So, yeah, KPE 4, the fifth HOCgaming charity event, because we had KPE 1, 2, 3, then VPE, and now KPE 4 early next year. We've got a lot to talk about. It's a big event. There's a lot of things to discuss. There's so many possible shapes that it could take. It's kind of impossible to narrow down exactly how it's going to be, but I've got to make it possible because that's what I've got to do. So hopefully, Pawn,
especially without knowing what
you,
KSP2 is going to
me.
completely be. Yeah, it's going to be really hard to sort of. There's only so much you can
Yes.
plan. And then it's going to rely on, our early versions of the game going to have the multiplayer, because if that's there, then that's got to be what, that's what it's all built around. But if it's not,
Yeah.
then that's a completely different plan.
And I am happy to announce that following the release of that video yesterday, I got a response from the community manager of KSP, the new, I don't know how long she's been around, but presumably she is continuing on to KSP2. I don't know I think she works at Private Division, so she must be the KSP2 community manager, presumably. And she basically just pinged me and said, hey, I know you've got questions about KSP2, so just tell me all your questions. And I was like, you don't understand. There are too many questions for me to just tell you all the questions. We need to actually talk about this. So I fired off a few initial questions, one of which was like, hey, I know there's probably only so much you can say at this point in development, but please, are there any intended limitations to multiplayer that will impact how we plan the event? And all of my questions were like that. Like, how is this? Is it the same? Is it changed? This new edition you're talking about? What is the scope of that from my perspective for planning this event? Because I need to know. So, no reply yet. I only sent that off yesterday. We'll see what she comes back with and whether I will get that meeting that I have been organizing or trying to organize.
Yeah, it's almost hard
funny,
to plan
actually.
the meeting until you know more. It's like you need information from them in order to know how, like, what am I going to pitch? What are my questions? I have questions before I can know what my questions are.
I came up with most of the questions as I was writing my reply to her email. Like, I didn't have them ready because, I kind of only had vague ideas of what the event was going to be, let alone specific questions that she would actually be able to answer at this point in time. But it's funny, the way this kind of her response to me happened. Danny2462, my man, my guy, always helping me out whenever I'm in a pickle. He is in a Discord server with the new media group.
Oh.
There's a new media group, it seems. I don't know whether they officially call themselves that.
Possibly because we don't make Kerbal Space Program media.
Yeah, it's quite reasonable, to be fair.
But that's no excuse, god damn it.
We deserve a place, just pure historically speaking. But it's
grandfathered in.
Apparently, it was originally created by Matt Lone, who is the one YouTuber that I'm like familiar, or well, not familiar, but like I've seen his KSP videos. Whenever I Google KSP, it's always Matt Lone does awesome thing in KSP that I see. So apparently he started it, and then the community manager somehow ended up in there. Danny is in there. So Danny pinged my video into that Discord chat and linked to a specific part of the video, apparently, that I said, hey, I've been trying to contact Private Division. They've not been replying to me. So I don't know exactly which bit it was, but the community manager came back and was like, oh yeah, we found his email. He sent it yesterday. As if like I kind of feel like they think I'm an idiot now because they've seen the most recent email I sent to @Kerbal Space Program and gone, this guy makes an entire video saying he's not been able to contact us, and he tried yesterday on a Sunday. What does he expect? but no, just to clear the record, I have sent previous emails just to @private division because I figured contacting the press team directly was the better idea. However, when I did eventually contact @Kerbal Space Program, the first reply I got immediately was, "Hey, you should really contact the press team directly at Private Division." Yeah, I know.
That's a good idea.
So
I thought of that 2 weeks ago.
Why didn't I think of that? But it's awesome.
It's a big, I'm sure there's a lot going on over there right now, and they're getting a lot of inquiries from, both the press and also part of it, I believe you said, was that they have other games, obviously, that they manage as a publishing house, and they have some big releases going on right now, so they're fielding questions from completely different worlds and trying to put all that together, so it's all very reasonable.
Completely different worlds. The Outer Worlds is their big game, which is releasing this month, I think, 24th of... Is it 24th? Something like that, of October. So... Excuse me. Yeah, big game for them. Much bigger than KSP2, I think, because it's... People kind of view it, I think, as the spiritual successor to, like, Fallout New Vegas. Because it's a RPG kind of... I'm not sure where I got that impression from, but that's what it seemed like to me. Kind of seems like it's a Fallout-esque thing. So, yeah.
Well, I want to reach to chat here because Joseph Stalling was asking, was the virtual expedition last year? That's sort of the last time that I watched Harv. So how long has it been since the last expedition? 26?
The last expedition, 2016. Virtual Polar Expedition, 2016. The last Kerbal Polar Expedition, 2020. So 4 years since KPE 3. Hell of a time gap. Man.
Had to go off and get edumacated. Had to go off and just...
I did university.
Experience something other than being, a 15-year-old with a channel that's blowing up than just like... ad revenues and hundreds of thousands of subscribers and developer kits and media groups and all that kind of stuff. You had a warped childhood, my friend.
Please donate to patreon.com.
Save the Harv, hashtag.
Yes, I'm happy to announce that I've chosen which charity we're supporting this year, and it's Save the Harv Foundation. So, that's actually one of the big things I haven't chosen yet. We have historically supported Charity Water for the vast majority, for all of the Kerbal stuff. It's been Charity Water, who, if you don't know, they are an organization that provide sources of clean water in the places that need it most. So Malawi, Niger, Ethiopia, communities out in rural areas of those countries that just don't have clean water and have to walk for hours just to get dirty, bacterially, filled with feces from the animals which are upstream, and it's horrible. So that's been really awesome, and Charity Water do an awesome job of demonstrating and evidencing how the money is used and kind of what it's accomplished, which I feel like is something you don't get with a lot of charities that you might choose to support. So they're great, but I've kind of been feeling like maybe we need to choose something else. We've supported them a lot previously. Is there a more kind of suitable, a better fit for the event that we could go for? And to be honest, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
It's an interesting thing. There's so many different aspects to that because obviously, Kerbal Space Program, you're looking into science and education, and there's a lot of worthy charities, that relate to that. And then at the same time, there are, one of the things that you immediately consider is there's a lot of charities that go around. It's weird to be in this position where you're thinking about what charity to support because
I know, right?
You become immediately aware of the fact that there are certain charities that often get support and that are extremely well funded and kind of don't need the added help. I mean, obviously they're a charitable organization, but like you actually have to take that into account. Like there are marginal issues, and not even marginal issues, but things that exist out there that aren't receiving support, while there are things that are receiving gobs and gobs and gobs of support to the point where they might actually not be able to do anything more than they're already doing because they're so well funded. And
Yeah,
so
I
these are
don't
like
know exactly
considerations.
whether.
It's difficult to, you actually do have to sort of take some time and consider, should we be supporting this organization that gets support from thousands of, different people throughout the year, or should we pick something that's a little bit more, close to home and smaller and grassroots and needs the
Hmm.
help?
So this is,
I
yeah,
say we, but
like you've summarized
it's
it
all he
perfectly.
gets to do whatever the hell he wants to do,
No, well, I
man.
mean, kind of, but I am just one feeble brain in this universe, and I desire the input of many in order to find that kind of optimal solution to the problem. But it's a weird moral, kind of ethical, logistical, economic, charitable. Just add more able words to the end. It's a weird problem, and so I tried to do some reading to kind of see what is the theory on this. Is there like a science to which charity you should support? And I came across this article. I went looking for organizations that regulate charities to see, do
Oh, that's a
they
good
have like a
idea.
list of, hey, yeah, these are the ones which are, really well regulated, and we know their dollars get turned into charity.
Hmm.
And I came across an opinion, not really an opinion piece, but kind of an article from one of those people. And it talked about hit based donations. It was aimed at philanthropists in a way, because it's the idea of, do you go for the highest expected kind of goodness to return per dollar? Because expectation is a funny thing. If you think about it statistically, knowing that if you donate $1 million and you will thoroughly save 500 people, that gives you an expected kind of value, 500 people per $1 million. If you donate $1 million and it has a 90% chance to save 5,000 people, or no, sorry, a 10% chance to save 5,000 people, then your expected value is still 500 statistically, but you're taking a gamble.
Yeah, that's
And
so weird
the
to think of
point
it
of the
that way.
article,
Like
yeah,
mathing
I
it,
know, right?
but it is something
But
that
that's the
has.
thing, is that instinctively, from a charity, like from my point of view, kind of internally, my first reaction was, you're giving away your money to a charitable cause. There are so many causes that need help that we know are going to like work. Why do anything other than the guaranteed 500 people? Why risk wasting all that money? The problem is that all of the great advances of humanity are often because you take a risk. And if you think about, like, why bother going to the moon? It's so risky and we're never going to get anything out of it other than we plant a flag. It's like, well, you develop all the technology along the way, and like there's so much more to it than just taking the safe route. And like you were saying, if you choose those charities that are really well supported already, sure, your dollars might have the effect that they intend, but there are other causes out there that are less well supported, that are in dire need of help. And if you think about contributing money to research, research might not go anywhere. But if it never gets
Hmm.
funded, it's never going to go anywhere. So we have to research things as a species. So why not put your money into that, and hopefully high risk, high reward, and go about it that way?
As a side note, you say about the moon, why should we go there and that kind of thing. It's like I totally like I can't argue against that. That is true. Like, the development of technology and the advancing and everything, but at the same time, it's kind of how I feel about Mars. Like, why? Like, we
Hmm.
really don't have a lot to gain by going to Mars. I don't think that that's where we should go. We should be going somewhere else first, and I have
I
very
think
strong
the
opinions about.
I think the thing about Mars is that for the most part,
It's
if you think about
red,
like the technical challenges, it's
communist.
red, it's dusty, it's thin atmosphere, no magnetic field, or very weak one.
Hmm.
If you think about the technical challenges that are created by going to space and going to the moon, there are more of them than not doing any of those things than there are introduced by the extra step of then going to Mars and creating a colony. So there are unique challenges unique to Mars, which will lead to the development of more technologies. But the question is it a sufficiently new kind of field of pursuit that we couldn't get elsewhere and accomplish more productive things while tackling those problems.
I'm also very curiously, very strong in my opinion about if we do go to Mars, like, it should be a colonization effort, you know? It should be like, in my mind, here's the thing. When I first started thinking about, okay, how do you go to Mars? How do you colonize Mars? My first thing was, okay, so people should be breeding on the way to Mars. And we need to do a lot of research about that. But the idea of like having a child in space, or, you know, carrying it to term in space and then land, like, I know there's risks involved in everything, but you're going to have a child, like, you need to breed humans in the environment of Mars if we're going to be there. And
yeah, but don't breed them
actually,
on the way.
well, like,
Surely.
on the way, they'll be in low gravity. You know, that if it's not just miscarriage, then they'd be in low gravity when they get to Mars.
Which is going to be way more likely to be just a miscarriage, and like you have to get them through landing, and like you have to have all that capacity. Yeah, that's a rubbish idea.
it's such a topic that actually needs to be explored, though. Like, maybe on the way isn't a good idea, but I heard like plans for, like, they were talking about having the first Mars mission being all female, so that there wouldn't be sexual this and sex and stuff like that.
Like deliberately reducing.
Somebody was talking about that. It, you know, probably wasn't Naz, but somebody was talking about that, and I'm like, but that's the opposite. We need people to get there and then do the deed and start making Martians. We need Martians, not humans, or not Earthlings.
I definitely I don't agree with that at all, because I think you already know, Mars is one of the worst places we could pick to try and colonize. I mean, lack of magnetic.
Why are we going there anyway? That's my point in the first place. But if we're gonna go, then we should be fucking on the way. That's just
no, it's stupid. Like, when I'm talking about the difference in how much technological gain you're gonna get, we can get the same technological gain by creating a permanent outpost, as we basically can by trying to go ahead and colonize it. Like, we don't need to colonize in a really terrible spot in order to get that.
You need this sweet Martian nookie, man. It's what Limp Bizkit was
it's just going to lead to like if you actually manage to set the problem with extra planetary colonization as a whole, not just on Mars, is that if you actually manage to set down a permanent colony which eventually becomes independent of Earth or Kerbin, whatever, dependent of Earth, you end up with like a sovereign state which eventually will come to resent the mother planet, because we're probably extracting resources out of there. Again, and then it's like, who is going to nuke who from space, you know?
And it's because it's exactly that thing. Like, we're going to send people over to this just shitty place where human beings really can't live and just barely scrape by and that kind of thing. It's like, the people who go there originally are going to be all psyched for it. Oh, I want to go to Mars. I'm going to be the first one. Yeah, it sucks there, though, you know. It's going to be horrible. And the idea that, like, we're going to send a ship once every, 3 or 4 years to check up or swap out crew and stuff, like, all that has to happen is for the wrong person to be elected, and then the funding's cut, and, well, I guess you're on Mars now. Bye! Like, it's just a really, really bad idea.
I much prefer the idea of having a permanent moon base before having a permanent Mars base, because A, it's closer. Like, any emergencies, Earth is right there. B, the moon is a really good idea, because with Mars, like, hey, we're establishing a foothold off of the planet. And hey, it's got an atmosphere, but the things that make it seem like a planet to us, like its atmosphere and its size, those two are also things which make it really unsuitable for like a good foothold of humanity in the solar system. The moon having such low gravity and having no atmosphere means that it's like a space base, like perfect.
Orbital launch.
We can get fuel, we can mine it, we can put things in orbit and have like the bigger interstellar and interplanetary ships in orbit around the moon. It's a way better close foothold for humanity than Mars, where you're trapping yourself, which takes so much energy to get off of again that what's the point in going down in the first place? It's not like you can breathe the atmosphere. That's not the benefit of it. It's slightly easier to maintain pressure. But
Yeah, I'm a much bigger fan of going to basically the two other planets that would make sense. And honestly, I like Mercury. Not for humans, obviously, But I like the idea of, sending off probe robots that have been designed to be controlled, and they can start like doing things and trying to just like, the idea would be we need AI on Mercury in order to take Mercury apart mineral by mineral and make, mirrors and fire those back into space around the sun and start, gathering the energy of the sun and beaming it where we want it.
Yeah, no, yeah. I agree with you completely there. As soon as humanity cracks von Neumann probes, which are self-replicating 3D printers that can go through space, or even not just through space, but just as soon as we have a 3D printer that can print a 3D printer, we just got to land like a couple of those on Mercury and let exponential maths do its work.
See, and that's
in
why
a few years, Mercury will be just raw material.
The Martian mission is unfair. If we're going to let the 3D printers reproduce, come on, man. Don't send a group of lesbians to Mars. This is just, it's unreasonable treatment.
Yes, you get, oh man, wait, hang on.
Ooh, it's Engi says Venus colonies, though. Yes, Venusian colonies are way better idea than Mars, because you got thick atmosphere, you can build literally cloud cities there, you got all kinds of like chemicals and vapors in there. There's so much chemistry potential of being in Venusian clouds that makes so much more sense as a place to be other than fucking Mars. Mars sucks. It's awful. No one likes Mars. No one's ever liked Mars.
Oh, this is not the right book. There's a series of books. I don't think it's by Asimov. No, it might be. I think there's a book by Asimov that I read recently that is in the same universe as these, and it's basically that humanity sends 3D printers with AI on them to go out to the asteroid belt and to start sending materials back in the system, and the AI eventually just packs it up and goes, "We don't want to do this. Why are we doing this?" And so
this is boring.
And then they come back like years later and declare war and stuff. And yes, no, KP4, Chatuka, don't leave us.
Oh, it's Engi. Proper gravity for getting it on Venusian colonies. There are so many benefits to colonizing Mars or Venus rather than Mars. You don't have to even friggin' land. That's the beauty of it. You don't even have to land. There's no like litho-braking involved. You just like get somewhere in there, inflate a thing. The oxygen that you're breathing is also what's keeping it aloft.
Litho-braking near you in 2020.
It was a good call. I like that. I just love the term litho-braking. Just so good to tell, especially when somebody's playing any kind of a space game. You go on YouTube and see someone. In fact, Nerd Cubed, big fan, Dan Hardcastle was playing Outer Limits, and he was like, his landings were really hard, and he was like, "Wow, that was a really hard landing, but screw it." And I'm like, "No, that wasn't a landing, Dan. That was litho-braking. Do it with pride, man. Do it own it."
Advanced
that is a legitimate, that is a legitimate rocket sciencey method of slowing yourself down on the surface. Believe in the litho-braking.
Let's return, as Chartucker has very accurately pointed out. This is a big tangent. Let's steer things a bit more back towards KPE4. But before we do, it's better for us to steer things all the way back to KPE 1, 2, and 3. Because in learning from our past mistakes, we must first analyze those past mistakes. So, Pawn, what mistakes did we make in KPE 1, 2, and 3?
All right. Well, in KPE 1, I wasn't there. Big failure. KPE 2, you let me in. Worst failure.
Hey, KPE 2 is the one which raised the most money. So, correlation or causation?
Both and all. I am the Ronin.
Okay, so I have a big one, a big gripe, which people didn't seem to mind, but I minded a lot. KP1, first 3 hours of the stream was spent building a rover in the VAB really badly. Next, however many hours total remained of that event was spent driving the rover at 5 frames per second across the planet.
Oh, really? I don't remember that. It's so weird, and I'm sure that most people don't remember that, It's like the rose-colored glasses looking back, but it was just such an exciting time, and, having everybody there, it was like, anything was cool. It was just cool to be happening.
It's such a
But I
bad
do like
idea.
that, like what you're saying right there with the whole like building the craft on the day of. Now, if there's multiplayer in KSP2, like ready for the
Mm,
event, then building the crafts could be an interesting thing to have, depending on how much content we think we'll get out of the actual like traveling and that kind of a thing. But I really, really like the idea, one way or the other, of having craft that transform. Like
mm.
having a stage of the journey where you start out, a rocket, and you go to a planet, and then it's a buggy, and then the buggy falls away, and now it's a jet ski, and
Yeah,
now you're
yeah,
going
yeah.
over water. Like, there's
I
so much
like.
potential to show off what KSP can do, and what KSP2 hopefully even does better in that kind of
Mm,
scenario.
I like. Well, I mean, I like that idea basically. Multiplayer is going to be so good for the event, not only because hey, there's more YouTubers doing more things, and there's more opportunities for comedy, etc., etc., but also just because there's going to be more vehicles on screen, and like that's going to be variation that it sorely needs because even though it never seemed to be a big problem with the event, the fact that it was the same thing for so many hours theoretically seems like it would be boring. I guess it never was because, I mean, you've got the terrain changing over time and the kind of challenges that brings with it. And you've got the co hosts talking and you've got the donation rising. There's plenty of kind of a sense of progression. And
People
like I said in the video,
singing
that
and
sense,
crazy
yeah,
images being
it's
sent
raining
in.
man. Yeah. We need Goldfish back. Where is Goldfish? Someone contact him. Help.
Find the fish.
Find the fish. Hashtag find the fish. KSP2. KP4. The sense of ongoing progression. Really good. And I feel like if we can just capitalize on that sense of momentum, things are going places and that's happening. Every theme of the event should be this inexorable, is that the right word? Inevitable, ongoing forward momentum and just really like driving that hype train. What about a train? That could be interesting.
You
You've got
know,
like a co-host at the front laying down rails as they drive. Um, oh my god.
Actually, that's kind of similar
Yeah.
to something that I was thinking at the same time as Bob was writing. Each build half and combine them to make a Voltron at certain parts or something. And actually, if we did have 4 or 5 people running together, like my thought just before you were posting that, Bob, was the idea of, okay, what if we build this trip around the idea that each of the, hosts and co-hosts brings a vehicle, and that vehicle has a task that's very necessary to the end goal. So one of them is resources, and they're dragging a miner, and then the other one is each of them has
Mm,
something that's necessary, and maybe throughout the journey, each person has to leave their vehicle behind because it's no longer necessary. So one person is driving something alongside of us or being towed, by nodes, and they've got a boat. But when we get to where we're going, like the boat is what we'll need. We'll have to leave the buggy behind, and then the boat, and things like that, where you've got everybody is like driving next to each other, going where they're going, but each individual has a crucial, necessary part of something that's needed for the overall journey.
okay, so that is great. And what people are saying in chat about Top Gear Challenge, that's potentially even better, and the two of them combined is even better as well. Because rather than framing it as like, hey, you are specialized in this and you are specialized in this and we help each other, imagine each co-host tasked with designing their own vehicle.
Excellent. Hey, thank you, my
Oh,
creations. My
thank you very much for the
creations.
sub, Mike.
Is it real?
Awesome.
Is my creations? Ooh, it's my creations.
Mike, stick around until the end of the stream to see your name, hopefully on screen as the credits roll at the end of the stream.
If I did that right, yeah.
If we did that correctly. So with Top Gear, you've got your 3 hosts or however many, and they each designed their own thing to complete the challenging survival tasks ahead of them. And along the way, their various vehicles fail in various ways because they were designed stupidly. So I really like the idea of that we tried that. That's what everyone goes for. And they build their own vehicles in their own ways. And along the way, there are challenges that each vehicle has to complete. Someone else subscribed. Oh my god. Tetronia. Wow.
Ooh, I like the way that you
man.
said that too. I think that's exactly correct.
Yeah.
Tetronia.
Hey, that's how I read it.
Kapla.
Hey, I'm usually really
nice
bad
to
at
have
saying
you
these
in the
names,
Klingon
so-
army. Tetronia.
Of course. I pictured it more as like, yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't quite fit with the But when you reach these challenges that each host has to complete, you've got the capacity that maybe they will help each other. Maybe one of these vehicles can't make it through this challenge by itself, but if it works together with another vehicle, it'll be able to, and then that host owes that other vehicle a favor. And so you've got this kind of dynamic of like
and
alliances
it breaks down into
forming.
a sex game. Oh, okay. No, you're thinking something else. Okay, right.
No, stay away. Stay away from that.
I've got fuzzy dice. That's all I'm saying. There's fuzzy dice.
But like Battle Royale or Charity
Don't let
Royale.
me at KP.
You're off the guest list now. You're not allowed.
Let me tell you something about penguins, Harvey.
So great ideas here. I really like what this kind of whole charity royale, battle royale kind of alliances forming as you go along, and there's many vehicles and the multiplayer and awesome stuff like that. Speaking of a battle royale, Hunger Games was mentioned in the comments of the video. And what I really like about that is the idea that you have a co-host who is in orbit around whatever planetary body it is, as if they're like hosting the Hunger Games. They've got like video from orbit, the bird's eye perspective, and they have the ability to drop care packages. So say we're using fuel in these rovers or electricity or whatever. If enough viewers donate specifically for a certain host for their vehicle, then you can drop like a battery that only they are allowed to recharge from. And so it's like viewer donations directly drive the success of the mission. Again, that momentum going forwards.
And a simpler version of that, which is probably worse, but I thought of it, so now I have to say it, is just the idea of having like points at which either we get something because we've reached the goal, or some player who's logged on in multiplayer attacks us or something, like there's you get to that point where it's like we were trying to hit this many thousand by this hour, we're here, we didn't do it, now bad thing happens, or we did do it and good thing happens. And so chat kind
punish and reward.
Yeah.
There's a good idea in chat right there. Don't know if it's still on screen because I can't see the stream. Each streamer picks a charity and battles for the pool of funds. I want to discuss that in detail because it's interesting, but I wonder whether it dilutes the feeling of hype and the feeling of like, we're all in this together, we're all supporting and trying to get this thing to the goal. It's good because it allows us to support many causes and not just limit ourselves to choosing one. And I feel like you can really turn it into like, oh, my charity is getting higher than yours. Oh yeah, well, my charity is getting higher than yours. Come on, guys, donate. And so that's really cool. And the total donation tracker, you have like a bar chart at the bottom of the screen above each host's like profile picture, and then at the top you've got the total donation amount, and that's really what's important, is the total. So you can kind of, we're all on the same team, we're all raising money for charity, but here are the specific charities that we're raising money for, and hey, I want my one to win, I want my one to win. Is that good, or does that dilute the kind of oneness of the event?
Yeah.
What do you think?
My thought is that like doing it specifically with the charities seems it's wrong to do it with like the actual charities and be like, you either get money or you don't, based on these kind of things. But I like the idea just of like the different people who are participating having sort of their own tally that's rising. And I also like it because if like it could build into that idea that there's a bunch of us running, and then throughout the run, based on just the circumstances and what needs to happen and so forth. Like individual streamers, individual runners need to give up. Like they've been destroyed. Their craft is no longer tenable. They can't cross this terrain, and so their donation pool, then they have to choose who to give it to.
Oh, who they give it to.
Yeah,
so
to carry
okay,
on.
so your first point was that it feels kind of weird to say like this charity gets money and this charity doesn't get money. But I mean, that's what we're doing anyway. And in fact, this allows the person donating to choose which one they identify with the most and which one they would rather support. So in many ways, it's like fairer to the person, to everyone who's donating.
When you put it like that, I actually do like it more, especially because it gives us the opportunity to not just be stuck with like, we made a choice, we're stuck with this, we're giving all the money to this person, to have like a wider field and choose some worthies and then leave it up to people to give where they feel it's most needed. Another subscription!
Ooh! Hey! Thank you very much for the sub. Facious?
Because if I say it another way, it's not going to sound right. So I'm going to go with facious.
Yeah. Ooh.
Like or
building up. We're going to have like a super long credits roll at the end of this. This is going to be awesome.
Thank you, guys.
If it works.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Where's the button?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. No. We still got an hour.
So that's, I really like that idea. Who was it who suggested that first? I'm just going to scroll back through the chat here. Rodbotic. Hey, I recognize your username, Rodbotic. You've been around, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. I can really see that working from a UI perspective, because when we're talking about learning from past mistakes, with the Virtual Polar Expedition, my whole banner, webcam, donation banner, all that disappeared. I did the entire VPE full screen with only some white text with a, hey, we've raised this much. And I felt like that was really lame looking back at it now. But at the same time, I think I was going for the VR immersion, really like, oh, you're really in the event kind of feel. But overall, that having a decent UI which works well with the design of the game is better. And so I can really picture co-hosts' profiles, or just like the pictures of their rovers or something along the bottom, with the bar charts rising over the stream and the total donation amount at the top. Like, I can really see that. Or not even the co-host, but maybe a little co-host symbol for them, and then the charity's logo. And so, yeah, donate to the one who you want to donate to the most, and you see it progress. The only problem then is that I also like your idea of, hey, if this co-host crashes their vehicle, then they have to contribute their funds to whoever they want to. That doesn't work.
Nope.
And also, it does mean that we can't go for the, hey, there's 5 of us, let's try and do this without quick loading. Because all of the previous KP events have been rife with quick loading.
Yeah.
So
I really doubt,
unless you don't
Yeah, I doubt that KSP2 is going to be, so stable as quick loading, and more so that we're going to be able to create a craft that, or all 5 of us or however many there ends up being, will be able to create crafts that can survive without quick loading. So it would be like you'd almost have to set up rules at the beginning and say, okay, for each day of the event, you have this many quick loads. Good luck, boys, or something like that.
Or even, you could also just do facious quick loading is when you save the game, and then if something bad happens, you can reload the game back to that save point. Even what you could have is that hosts are allowed to regenerate their vehicle, but they just have to spawn further back. So every time you crash, it's like a distance penalty. And they have to race to catch up.
Quick saves. Yeah. Where everybody gets to quick save at this point. Now we got to get to the next place. And yeah. And then you could also build off of that in terms of donation goals and things by the time we get to the next quick save point, this is what we're trying to do. Yeah.
And as we go towards the bowl, we're setting up outposts. So all the vehicles have to carry a beacon, or several beacons which they can drop. And we go and we're dropping these beacons along as we go, and you have to reload back to the previous beacon in order to to restart if you've been damaged. So yeah, there's interesting ideas there. That one really comes down to KSP's mechanics. We don't know how KSP2 is going to deal with individual people quick loading.
Anything.
Or spawning in new vehicles.
Yeah.
We have no idea. So
and then it could also be
this is great
affected
that we're doing this stream
by
now.
if we're doing something either interstellar, as has been proposed, but just on a non-Kerbin planet, then what are our abilities to load on a certain point? Like, it will have to be bound either to the last quick save that we made, or we'll have to be making different saves, like game saves or save states, which is not
doing that during
KSP,
the stream is
historically not very easy to do.
Yeah,
not
definitely.
in-game anyway.
And yeah, it's definitely good that we're raising all these questions now before I had chance to have a meeting with the community manager, because what I'm going to do is I'll go back through the stream, I'll look at all the questions that we've been accumulating about the game and just pull them together for that meeting and be like, hey, tell me this. How does quick loading work in multiplayer? And yeah.
Chad Tucker disagrees with you on the clean UI thingy there. Fact is, he says, your face is a moneymaker. There's a reason the face reveal was reached that quickly back in the day.
Well, Chad Tucker, I know you do like my face. More disproportionate. But
you okay?
No, Oh, am I dead? What? What's going on?
You chopped up a little bit. You froze. Did you have a stroke? Are you okay?
Let's check the bandwidth on the phone quickly. But I agree with you, Chad Tucker. I said the clean UI thing was like a nice idea for VPE, but I definitely preferred the proper UI of KPE. And I don't, as much as I don't want to box the game in, definitely having like webcams and things to make it more personal and really kind of bring the personality back to it is definitely a better idea than having no human representation other than just gameplay.
And we're far more equipped these days, considering where you and I are right now, and the fact that you are coming through a cell phone to me, and then I am rebroadcasting you. Like, we know that we can put all of this kind of a thing together and control audio and video and stuff, especially with a fair bit of preparation. That said, I'm always like, I have that trouble too with the idea of like UI for just live streaming in general, because I am a fan of putting the game full screen and not, shrinking it to fit a smaller area and stuff, and trying to come up with a UI where it's like you got things going on there, but they're not forcing the game into a window. It makes sense when you're doing like console gaming where it's 4:3 ratio, old school stuff. But when you've got a 16:9 game and you've got a 16:9 space, I always, and it's not something that I stick to, hard and fast, but I tend to prefer show me the whole game and find a way, if possible, to put your this and that's over the top in the corners, off to the sides,
that's why
so it doesn't matter.
That's why green screens are so good for this as well, because it allows, like in your stream, for instance, you just sitting in the corner and you can still see the game past you. You're not taking out a big chunk. It's, it's way, way more just efficient space-wise. And I was just imagining as well, like we are right now sitting in our virtual studio. Wait, did I say virtual studio? I mean our real studio that we're both inhabiting. I just am moving like this on purpose. I'm imagining now if we set this up for the event, but rather than Discord with one person, it's a Discord with all of the co-hosts, and you show which co-host is talking based on you show their webcam based on who's talking. Then you just have like one person sitting in the bottom corner who keeps shape-shifting into different people. It would be really awesome if we could get everyone to have a green screen, to be chroma keyed, to be along the bottom, next to like where they would be, and we're all talking, But that seems like a technical nightmare. I mean, you have set all this up just for me. Imagine trying to do all this again for like 5 different Discord. viewers and
I
people at once.
could write a Python script.
Python script. You
My auto
write a Python
splitter
script.
for cluster truck uses, screen capture and that kind of a stuff, and then it just analyzes the frames and things. And if each vehicle were equipped with a certain thing that had a certain color or shape or something that could be detected, then yes, we could actually sort of hover the person's face behind their vehicle. No, this is
Oh my
far
God.
beyond what what I would want to actually do in reality.
But hey, you could do that, and that could be really funny.
Yeah.
Open CV to detect like the orientation of each of the rovers, and then it just has like this cardboard cutout, like a billboard of their face as they're talking, just like on top of it. Oh, it's so cool. That'd be so funny. All right, let's move on to things. So
We need to move
previous
on
KP.
shortly to a live stream break. We have
My
been going
God,
almost
we've
an
already been
hour.
going
Yeah.
for nearly an hour. Jesus, I've got so much more to talk about. Why is there so much more to talk about? Okay, so now you've mentioned it. Let's go to the break, and I'll just summarize what we'll carry on talking about after the break. I'd like to kind of distill the event down to the fundamentals, which, to be fair, I feel like we've done that pretty well so far. We know about the forward progression of momentum we're going for. We've got some good ideas for different ways to change up that with the different charities and the kind of battle royale or whatnot.
We know that we
And the
want sex
co-hosts
on the way to Mars, so we've covered that base.
Okay, we've talked a little bit about charity raising in general. I'm just ignoring.
I am the derailer.
You are. And I feel like your role in KPE should represent that to some degree. You'll be
Always
that one
has,
dick with his
always will.
rover just crashing into everyone else's rovers deliberately.
My rover will
sabotaging.
just be like a vehicle from
Designed
the Dukes
entirely.
of Hazzard, where I just drive in front of you and it's just a wedge, and I slam on the brakes. You, wow! It looks like the Duke boys are in for some trouble now.
Oh man. Right, let me wrap this up before we go to break. So, we've talked a little bit about charity raising. If we have time, which maybe we don't today, but I was thinking we could maybe explore what is the motivation behind giving to charity in the first place? About this selflessness and giving your money to a cause which you personally are not involved with at all, probably. And just kind of like dig a little bit into the justifications and the motivations behind that. Why are we doing this event? What's the point of it? Because marketing this thing and like how we encourage viewers during the stream has historically just been us going, hey, it's a good cause, please donate, hey, let's do it. And I kind of feel like at times we've lacked that substantial real like belief that this is definitely something you should do. So yeah, I want to dig into that a little bit.
Like both of us have individual like charities and things that would be very relevant to our personal lives and things, and so it would lend more weight to, especially if we do land on the idea of each runner having like a charity that represents that people can donate to individually. There would be more reality and emotional fervor behind each runner's chosen charity, because it represents something that affects them directly.
Yeah,
like that
and
idea.
that really does tie in well. Like I think making just the runners, the hosts, more personally motivated by the fact that they've had to choose a charity will help sell it a lot. Absolutely. So also want to try and squeeze in. I mean, we've kind of already broached it with multiplayer and maybe Interstellar very briefly, but what do we know about KSP2 currently that could really be used to make the event special and different from the previous ones? And will that be better, or will it just be the same but different? And then the final thing, which we have to talk about, just for me, in going into this meeting, hopefully with the community manager, with Private Division, what can we get from Private Division? What is the point of talking to them? Like, sure, they make the game, but really, how can they help us and how can they help make the event more successful? There's obvious stuff like marketing, and I want to have some of the developers come on the stream as guests to talk about their perspective behind the scenes of development. But let's really think about what is it that I'm going into this meeting for and hoping to get out of from them. And otherwise, I think we'll probably end up just talking about none of those things and talking about Goldfish's various antics instead. So, so stick around, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're enjoying the stream so far. If you are, please consider supporting us. It feels a little bit weird to be asking for support on a charity event kind of discussion.
If you don't support
topic
us, then
today.
we won't be around long enough to actually hold the charity event to help other people. So help us, help
There's
other
the
people,
issue.
help you, Jerry Maguire.
Help people. But regardless, so long as you're watching the show and enjoying, that's what matters most. So thank you very much for watching. We will be right back. Do not go anywhere. We're going to have a 7-minute, is it? I forget what we usually do on this one.
It's
5,
set up
7,
for 5.
5.
We'll be back between
Set up
5
for
and
5.
7.
5-minute break. See you in a bit.
We found the host of... Thank you, Houston. Thank you for calling us over. It was... Thanks. You keep doing you, buddy. It's good
No
outgoing you,
problem.
Houston. Yeah. All right.
Seamless.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're back. Welcome. We're carrying on talking about KPE 4 and the variety of ways it could look. I want to address something quickly. I mean, it's probably, I don't know, is it on screen right now, what I've been typing in chat? About...
Oh, yes, it is. And I haven't read it yet, so why don't you read it back for me? I'm not a
I'll
good
read it out.
reader.
So we were talking about having streamers pick different charities. KPE usually features different streamers. We call them streamers, hosts. We're talking about hosts, co-hosts. Different co-hosts on different days, a rolling guest list, with some co-hosts doing 1 day, some of them doing 2 days, some of them maybe even doing 3 days of the event. Do we have that we pick 5 charities to support before the event, like we do a poll, kind of appeal to the public, and then on each day, the like a certain co-host is allocated to ride under the flag of that charity, like have them carry the mantle forwards. Because I feel like having the different hosts on different days worked really well. That was one of the really good things about the event. The variety of personalities kept it fresh, you know.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on who we can get in the first place, whether or not we get a big fat lineup, and also how many days individuals are interested or willing, or we have the space for to give to them. Prepositions, words.
Yes. We have a real advantage right now in that I've started organizing this way earlier than I did. I think KP3 was organized like a month in advance or something, you know. Right now we have best guess until spring 2020 is what they're saying, so let's think more like June, because the game will inevitably get delayed. You know, we have a long time, and I'm pretty confident that with Private Division hopefully on board, with some of the new YouTubers and the old YouTubers who are still around, kind of spreading the word, we can probably get quite a wide lineup, and hopefully quite a deep one, in that the people who are interested would probably be willing to do at least 1 or 2 days. So I feel like getting people to host won't be the issue. Maybe finding timings they can work out and kind of organizing it all might be, but I've done that before. So I have the experience there. I know what that takes to do.
Just chunks of your soul, as I recall. Here's a thought, though.
It was not easy. Yeah.
Here's a thought for, you know, in terms of like rolling YouTubers or rolling streamers, rolling co-hosts as well, is I think it would be good in terms of their crafts if everybody brought their own craft. And so, you know, I'm not exactly sure how that works, but the idea of an individual, because people are gonna know their style, know what they're into, that kind of a thing. So having them be able to bring their own craft to the thing, so we get to a certain checkpoint by the end of a certain day, that kind of a thing. And if save files have to be traded, or if there's a server to be logged on to, like, that has to happen. But for someone to be able to not just have to take over someone else's
Ooh.
craft, but bring their own in.
Yeah, and I tell you what, when we talk about the time we have to promote the event, what if each YouTuber or Twitch streamer that's taking part develops their own craft in a video or a series of videos on their channel? And so it's
Oh
like
yeah.
this is pre-content being produced as they prepare for the show, and the only requirement for them is like, hey, make a craft and make it as good as you can make it. And
Yeah.
so they're there very much in their own individual styles, uh, really kind of appealing to their own audiences, developing their own craft to try and meet the specification of the challenge of whatever planet it is or whatever. I'm assuming it's a planet. We've mentioned extra stellar, interstellar travel, but like a real time kind of mission through space is really boring,
Yeah.
Just like either time warping or not even time warping at all, just sit there in space and do very little unless we invent a whole load of games to play along the way. I do think that terrain travel is the better way to go with this. And so, yeah, having each person try and spec and try and train, training montage as they do test runs and things in preparation for the real event. And hopefully this will improve the chances of not having to quick load, not having to restart as often. So I feel
That
like
does also
that's
open
quite a
it
good
up
idea.
for the idea for just like people having more task specific vehicles, or rather, like, really what I'm thinking
Mm.
of is just throwaway vehicles. Like, it's built, it's going to run one day, they know it's going to run one day, but because it's going to run one day and just one day and not have to carry them all the way, it can be built to have crazy kooky stuff on it that can be, a fun reveal, or,
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
missile launcher and
Like
stuff
little
like that.
modules they could, yeah, 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 exactly.
Hmm.
This is cool. And yeah, I like the idea. If we're doing it on a planet, we're doing it on maybe terrain, we can pick a route that goes maybe across an ocean or a sea of some sort. And so, like, the streamers who know they're going to be roughly that point in the route might decide, like, hey, I should make mine like super good in water. And they might sacrifice land challenge. But as a result of not knowing how far the event will actually be to the goal by that point, they might end up with entirely land to travel across, and they'll be in this like weird boat thing. So like they've got to make it really. They don't know exactly where their craft is going to be used, and so it's got to have all these gizmos that work well in different terrains and different conditions.
And then if KSP2
Hmm.
has features similar to some of the mods, where you can like put a anchor point onto another vehicle and be able to like tow it, kind of thing. You end up like dragging somebody's boat along, just trying to get them
Hmm.
through to the next day.
I
Yeah,
like
that
the idea
opens it up
of
for so
yeah.
much interesting content, things to go wrong, as long as we're like aware of them and prepared for them, and like
Hmm.
there's a manner of intent behind. If it does go wrong, more is the better, as opposed to if it goes wrong, we're screwed. We won't be able to finish the thing.
It's like organizing or planning a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. You can't strictly control it because that's never going to work. But at the same time, if you let it be too much of a sandbox where anything can happen, you're not going to get to where you want to go. So there's definitely a balance to strive for, and I feel like a lot of in-game testing would be helpful if we had the game to test with. Maybe Private Division can help us out with that. We'll see. I want to address a couple of things that people have been saying. Chartucker asks, have I tried contacting Enter Elysium? I have. I tweeted a DM to him yesterday. I have no idea whether we've seen it or not yet, or whether he's still interested. Because again, Elysium is one of the few of us who's been consistently making YouTube videos, and it's still going strong as far as I can tell. Still enjoying it by the looks of it. So, but he's also moved on from KSP. I imagine he would be totally down for the event, but I've asked him. We'll have to see what he says about that. And the other thing I wanted to address is I'm acting as if I'm looking where my finger is going, but I have no idea where the TV is. I'm just guessing. Someone said, make it a contest. Kidderbob said, make it a contest that the viewers can vote and they will choose which day streamers come on the show. Sorry, man, that's a terrible idea. Because people have lives. Even the hosts have lives. We have to like organize the event around their schedules, not the other way around. Yeah, I learned my lesson in the previous events. You have to make it very clear to people very early on, way before the show, exactly what time they're going to be needed and how long for, so you can have everything set and a schedule planned. Again, advantage of doing this so early in advance, that gets more and more likely.
Yeah, just getting a team together of any group of people is always difficult. Brandon and I were just doing a shoot this weekend, and it was fine this time, but, you know, it's always difficult. You're always trying to schedule around everyone's, you know, own schedules, but also to impart to them that, okay, after all the scheduling is done, we need you to actually be there at the time, ready to do the thing. Because
I feel like there's a good guilt trap where it's like, hey man, you're supposed to be supporting this charity on this day. If you don't turn up, that charity is not getting as much money as it deserves. Just hang that over them, guilt.
Here is your albatross. Enjoy it.
Absolutely. So before we went to live stream break, I kind of came up with this whole list of things as I desperately try and get it back. And I feel like from here, we should really start talking about
what private division, what you can get from them. Do we got money?
Exactly. That's the most important thing.
We want money. I mean, help.
Will they match donation?
Oh, hey, there's an idea. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, a lot of companies match donations that their employees make to charities. So even if Private Division don't want to match everyone's donations to the charity, maybe we can like get them to effectively do that by convincing the developers to donate, and so Private Division have to help.
Oh, so there's all my mind's just expanding, Harvey. Oh, I've seen.
Oh, tell me. Share.
I've seen other universes and galaxies. What we should do is see if Private Division, and, you know, the developers, who are not Private Division, but if Private Division will agree to give away 1 copy of the game for every X dollars donated, and then we give away the copy of the game during the charity event. So based on your donations and based on the donations of chat, like there's a reason for people to come, there's a reason for people to stay tuned, even if they're just in it for an ego, selfish, I want the game, that kind of thing. Like,
what if
and that's something that they can cheaply give away without having to like commit to, we'll match thousands of dollars worth of donations, which would be great, but the expectation is not there, you know.
So
they're gonna pressure you into that.
Before we go on to Chartok has just said something about restreaming. Private Division might be able to restream from their like official Twitch and Facebook accounts and stuff, which I like. I like the idea that they'll host us as well. And generally, marketing Private Division will be great for spreading the word because they are the people with the most reach to players of Kerbal Space Program 2. But here's my question for you about your idea of they give away a copy per amount of donated. What amount do you think they would be happy to do that for? Because my first thought was like $50. If you're going to sell the game for this much, then you'll give away the game for this much, but just to charity instead.
That
So
is potentially a lot of free games given away.
a lot. I doubt they would do that. It just makes sense.
Let me just be
From like a
completely honest with
merchandise.
you. If your first number was 50, my first number was like 1,000.
Yeah,
You know,
I know.
that was where I
And the
started.
thing
So,
is,
so
the
you
weird
know.
thing about all this is, as with any event that involves people, we don't know how successful it's going to be. I'm feeling confident now, right here in front of you guys. I know a lot of people used to watch the events. I know, like, there's plenty of people who will hopefully watch it now, and I have time to build the interest and whatnot. But the only thing we have to go on in order to estimate how much money we'll raise total is how much we've raised in previous events, which is about on the order of $10,000 to $20,000 per event. So if we're raising, let's say, $10,000, how many copies will they want to give away? Like, do you reckon they'll try and reverse engineer this? Is that the way to go about it? Like, hey, we'd like you to give away 200 copies of the game over the course of the event, and we're expecting $10,000 of revenue to be generated for the charities. So 10,000 divided by 200 copies. Mental maths porn. Come on.
Oh, was I supposed to be doing something? I'm actually sitting here
What is it?
thinking about the other end of it because if you're gonna start doing numbers, 200 times $50 for the game, that's $10,000 worth of game given away over the course of the of the charity event. That's a lot of scratch, but it is
Mm,
for charity, and if it brings in money
yeah.
for charity, you know, and it's a
I
write-off.
mean, who knows?
It's a tax-deductible write-off.
Rodbotic says just let them choose a number. Yeah, I feel like there's leverage to negotiate. Um, maybe the way to go about it is that I see what they say, and then I just say like, oh no, we were thinking a bit more than that. I mean, come on, it's for charity.
Yeah,
Like,
that's how you
regardless of the
negotiate.
number
Yeah.
they say.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
That's
mean,
it.
come
Whatever it
on,
is, whatever the number
let's be
is, it's like,
realistic.
oh, please, and then just add a certain pre-configured amount to that. Just multiply that times my factor and go, okay.
I already know I'm going to bargain 20% higher than whatever they say first. Okay, so obvious ones, we've got marketing, like Chartok has suggested, with the restreaming on the accounts, and then social media posts in general. Private Division can help us reach the audience. Hopefully, they'll be willing to give away copies of the game during the event. I would really love for developers from Star Theory and just people involved with the actual behind the scenes of the game to be hosts, or not hosts, but guests on the show, and maybe have them come preloaded with a specific topic that they are here to talk about. And so, like, they know what they're going to be talking about. They're really prepared. We can have a laugh with them and kind of chat as well. But it can be like, hey, if we reach this donation amount, then this important person will come and he'll tell us all about this and his interesting or her interesting perspective
Yeah, because
on what's going on there with the
rebuilding
game.
KSP into KSP2, based on the mechanics that are apparent, and then like that's going to just be such an interesting conversation to have about like the challenges based on what we were seeing from the original Kerbal Space Program and how we wanted to
Yeah.
replicate that in a way that was more efficient or more this or more that or more stable or less Kraken filled.
As amusing as the Kraken is, less Kraken filled would be nice for this, maybe.
Mm.
Um,
We wanted
the other
landing
big
legs to
idea,
not just explode sometimes, and that was a big challenge given what we started
we had,
with.
I mean, even just during KPE 2, I think in a big way, so many hills we went down. KPE 1 definitely. So many hills we went down, just tires. So that was fun, always fun. Another obvious thing that Private Division could do for us, but maybe maybe the least likely, give us the game early, even if it's just like a week before release. Will drive interest in the game. You probably get more day one sales. It's good marketing and promotion and like good perspective for the company to have that, hey, a big charity event, we're supporting it. And like people will be desperate at that point to see what the game is like. And so,
And if we do
it's
have
always
early access,
interesting.
then we can have some level of confidence in the idea of, the best KP or the most donations gathered on a KP was this. If we get early access to KSP2, then we know that we can beat that figure. I mean, or at least we have a very strong reason to believe that we can beat that figure.
Well, I'm trying to remember right, but I think we've had early access to KSP1 previously, haven't we? I think, obviously not before the game was released, but before new versions were released. We've had so Squad gave us early version in order to do trailers.
Was it 1.0? Oh yeah, that's
I think
absolutely.
they did it a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
they did it for making trailers and stuff, but that was very like tightly controlled. Whereas a live stream environment is less tightly controlled. But I'm fairly sure it's been done on live stream as well in Squad's history. Do you remember?
Yeah, and I think because I did a live stream on KSP TV, where I was showing off the newly, I think it was for 1.0, maybe even like it was the, it turned out I was the first streamer of the stream. I figured people would have showed it off, but to actually show them the new like mining and ore and refining of fuel mechanics and stuff like that. So I believe that stream was early access, early release. It was like 2 or 3 days before it actually hit in full, which is always interesting, by the way, if you find yourself someone who's been, who's like, hi, I'm a YouTuber, I play KSP, and they gave me this version of the game that there's no wiki about, and there's, some explanations generally in the game, but, like, I gotta figure it all out from scratch by myself, and I got like 24 hours for that. Now I'm gonna show you how it works. Come along for the ride.
I'm gonna become an expert as soon as possible so I can teach you, yeah. If we could check that. I know KSP TV is a Twitch channel. I don't think they've streamed for a while, though. And as Rodbotic points out, with the changeover of company developing it now, there's going to be a different perspective internally on giving the game early access to people. I mean, Squad was small. I feel like Squad were definitely more likely to do that than Private Division are going to be likely to do that. But because we've done it with KSP1 in the past, I can go into that meeting and say, like, hey, look at these streams that we did with Squad. Like, they were cool with it, and it turned out really well, and here's the evidence of that. You can trust us with an early version of the game, even if it is just a few days before release. I mean, that's not an early version of the game. That's the final version of the game. But just early access before it's released to the public. I mean, they do review copies and stuff like that all the time, but they usually have developers generally, this is publishers, usually have like press embargoes that you can't release that content until the actual day one release because they don't want to drive away all those crazy speculative day one buyers who buy the game as soon as it's available without having actually seen whether it works or not. So we don't know. That'll depend on Private Division and like 2K, right? 2K is the actual publisher. Private Division is the label. Star Theory is the developer. So there's like, I don't know where in the command chain those kind of decisions are made. I suspect it's with Private Division. The worst thing that can happen to me is that I go into this meeting and everything I ask for, they say, "Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I'll talk to the higher ups about it," and then nothing gets done. Oh, sorry, not 2K. Take-Two. Is it? Take-Two Interactive. Is it? Okay. I should know this before I go in.
It's a bit better too. Yeah, because I was thinking there's actually in terms of like early access and press embargoes and stuff like that, I know for a fact that some of the less scrupulous publishers have set up things where they just give the influencers and what they want to help them circulate and create marketing for the game just certain access. You're only allowed to make content about this one prepared level on this roll of RNG that we've confirmed.
Yeah.
And it's it's results in some interesting. It's not fair to anybody involved, basically. The people who have been giving the review code. If you, by the way, are a, YouTuber, live streamer, reviewer, and you're making those kind of agreements, don't make that kind of an agreement, okay? Because you're going to end up just turning into an advertiser for them. And that's
And you're just
not the
doing
relationship
your
you
audience a
want.
disservice as well.
Yeah.
Like if you knowingly are showing something which is very far removed from reality, but that's not disclosed, then you're lying by omission, and misleading your audience, and that's the last
Something
thing you
I
want to do.
I just too often bring that up because I feel like, it just happens so often on YouTube when you do actually start to find some success and some following. People reach out and they want to make you feel special. And they do. It's very easy to do because it's like, oh, people with, names that I recognize are contacting little old me, and they make you feel special. And then before you know it, you've turned into just a advertising post for them without realizing it because you're not savvy to it. So I almost stupidly interject in a lot of spaces where it's not, really relevant. If you are, an influencer, you're a YouTuber, like, watch, be careful, like, be aware that people have interests, vested interests, they want something from you, and if they can get it for free because you don't understand the value that you have to them, they are more than happy to rob you and discredit you in the process.
Understanding your own value as a content creator is something that is very difficult to do. I mean, understanding your own value in life generally to other people is difficult regardless, but even more so in this situation where you can feel very alone and not very important, and then, oh, this developer, publisher is wanting me to do this, and they're going to pay me, and oh my God. This isn't, to clarify, we're not talking about Take-Two here necessarily.
No.
I don't know. I don't know whether Take-Two have a history at all of doing like early access and this kind of stuff. I'm sure they get YouTubers to promote their games because that just makes sense nowadays. But yeah, maybe this is the kind of research we should do and just kind of gauge the battlefield almost, not to make it seem like a confrontation. Take-Two, Private Division, if you're watching, I have no bias towards or against you. I am a wholesome, fulfilled soul, willing to make mutual, beneficial, charitable decisions in
Let's
an
make
adult,
sweet love
responsible,
together.
mature manner, and we'll just make
with
love
protection.
as
With
porn.
protection, though.
As... so yes. Yeah, these are some of the things to bear in mind. Maybe I should go in having done kind of like a bit of definitely a history check on Private Divisions and Star Theory, and I don't know how relevant Take-Two is going to be to this, but certainly Private Division's history with these types of events. Have they been involved in live streams and things like this before? Have they done charity fundraising before? This is a question that I specifically asked Anais, who is the community manager, in my long email that I would kind of like, crap, I need some questions, that I sent to her. So when she comes back to me on that, hopefully we'll know. Because, again, she replied asking, like, hey, I know you've got questions, shoot me your questions. And I replied saying, I do have questions, but I also want to talk to you because there's too many of them and I really want to get your insight. Because I'm sure they have a very different perspective on this from a business point of view and just from their perspective behind the game, things that they would like the event to be and things they would really not like the events to be. And I want to get their insights on that because I think that's really valuable in making it a success. So hopefully that's what comes out of that for all of us. Any other big things that Private Division could do to help us? We've got a few. What could they do for us? People in chat.
I'm not going to go for like a joke because it's just easy. It's just too easy. It's low hanging fruit. I won't lower myself.
Yes, stay on the moral high ground, on the reputable content host of your own talk show high ground that we occupy here on the stage of Harv Pawn.
Yeah, just getting early access to the games as Templars basically is, it's going to be one of the best marketing strategies for them. Looking at your history from KSP1, at least I would. Yeah, so
Yeah, totally. I mean, and there's ways that we can make it work, because obviously if they say like, hell yeah, we'll give you early access 1 day before release, I'm going to go, that's not enough time. I need to prepare an event. Like, you can't give me 1 day to do this. That's ridiculous. There's definitely things we can do. Like, I can say, well, if you don't want to show early release, still in development versions of the game, that's fine. But if I could get access to it, or at least talk to the people who have access to it, and see it for myself, and so I know, oh, so that's how that works, and just so I can get to grips with it, I'll sign the non-disclosure agreements. If that's what it takes up until the actual event, that
yeah,
they don't want to
that's
show
something to
like an
talk about,
unfinished
is the
copy of the
idea
game.
of NDAs, and also because you bring that up makes me realize that it doesn't really work, or it doesn't work very well, unless all of the YouTubers who are going to be involved in this are, have early access, so that they can know what they're working with in the game, so that they can build in advance. It would
Or at
be
least they can
really
be
tight.
briefed. At least they can be briefed to a really good level. But yeah, like we were saying about building craft beforehand as like a series before the event. If they don't have the game, how are they going to do that?
Mm.
So all of this is predicated on the assumption that we run the event like as soon as the game comes out, or even before. Private Division might turn around and say, well, we don't want to give you early access, so just do the event later.
Yeah,
Which
it's entirely
the
possible.
only downside to that, yes, and it's likely, I'd say it's likely at this point. The downside for us is that what it's going to draw in viewers, like exclusive early access to the game, nothing. There are very few things other than getting PewDiePie and Robaz and Scott Manley, which we hopefully will get. I still need to talk to Scott. I haven't spoken properly to him like ever. Certainly not for several years. But yes, what will draw in viewers and make this successful, if not early access to the game for the event before release? Like, that would be so good. That would be such good publicity for Take Two.
If we
and Private
can't get
Division.
early access, there's very little that they can offer. Like, what they can offer is not of much value, and it's just kind of a side thing. And then basically, if we get early access, then it's a mutual thing that's happening, an agreement between you, Harvey, and them, and it's like a team effort, and we're putting an event together. If there is no early access, then it's really just our event that we're doing.
Well,
And
yes and no. I mean, there's still
they don't
all
get
of
to
the
have
marketing.
input, really. Like, if they have some marketing, that's the thing.
You're
Is
trying
like,
to say
I'm saying
to
like,
say I should take the hard line and be like, hey, you're
well,
either
not
in or you're
necessarily
out.
the hard line, but it does really come down to that, because if there's not early access, then the benefits that they can give are a little bit of extra boost, a little bit extra relevance in marketing, but really the boost in the marketing and the relevance comes from the YouTube community and the influencers and the people who we're going to be contacting and reaching out to, and who, the connections that we already have. So what they have to offer is like early access, and let's have the developers on, and let's make a whole event out of it. And if that's not
And
there,
giveaways of the
then
game
it's
stuff.
like, it's not that there's no involvement between, us and Private Division. It's just that Private Division becomes like another streamer. They've got the same sort of role and responsibility and importance in the process as just one of the other people who we're going to have on the show. Like, you're bringing something, so are these people. But if it's early access, well, then it's a 50-50 marriage. It's a coupling of interests, and we're both joining together to make something really cool happen. If they're not in for early access, then it's like, all right, any help you can give will be nice, but we're just going to do it the way we're going to do it.
I hope you're listening. PD. Listen to the man. He knows what he's talking about. So yeah, hopefully
it's always good to be
we'll
very
just
like
have to see.
publicly ballsy about agreements that you'd like to make before you have a private conversation. It always lets people know, oh, these guys are these are people
really
who I want
just
to work with.
show all your cards. Really roll up those sleeves and everything you've got in your sleeves. Just put it out there. Yeah. So that is the private division side of things. Definitely, in conclusion, there's a lot of stuff they can do for us, and that kind of broadly falls into information, marketing, giveaways, and early access. It seems those categories. So I want to move on as maybe our final kind of point of the show. We have 20 minutes or so remaining. There's comparisons to the previous KPE events and even VPE, which was similarly a charity fundraising show. So definitely worthwhile drawing comparisons there. I want to go into the specific best kind of moments we remember from those shows, and even generally just what donation milestones could we offer, and just brainstorm anything and everything that could happen. In KPE 2, I don't know if it was in KPE 1. KPE 2, there was a face cam reveal. Someone's face got revealed on YouTube for the first time. I don't know whose that was. But like as Chartucker said earlier, that was quite a thing that happened and people liked that. And that was a good driver of incentive to donate. So can we think of some wacky...
We got to hear Danny's voice for the first time. That was...
Yeah, we did. Kind of. That was a nice big joke that was going on. In fact, on the video that I uploaded the other day announcing all this, I'm fairly sure there were more than a few comments saying, "Will Danny's face be revealed?" And there's Random Aim saying the same thing again. 100k Danny2462 face reveal. I don't know if he'll do it. I mean, that's something for Danny to suggest and to be willing to do. That has to come from him.
No. If Danny won't offer face reveal, then he doesn't have anything to bring, and we're just going to go it alone. The policy we're taking with everybody today. God damn it.
The devil on Harv's shoulder as he tries to negotiate the fine line that is bringing this event together.
Now, at what level do we get the nudes from all the streamers? That's what I want to
know. I would say $200 donated. That should be...
Hey! Get this thing off right.
I'll donate that right now. Hell yeah. Yeah, how far are you willing to go? Because it's funny, in KP, one of them, I'm fairly sure I said that, hey, if we reach 100,000, I'll go bald. I'll shave my head. And that seemed like a very big thing at the time. I realize I'm talking to you with your lovely head of hair that you have. But hey, man, I was 15 years old at the time and I was going to secondary school. Can you imagine how bullied I would have been? That was a big thing for me. Yeah, like modifications to us as hosts. What are we willing to give away? Are we willing to lose parts of our bodies or to gain things to parts of our bodies?
What is this turning in?
What there?
Some kind of deer hunter montage? What, we're going to play Russian roulette at the end of this thing? I think you got the wrong idea about this charity event, Harvey.
Every $1,000, another spin of the cartridge.
Oh, I heard it. It's in the chamber. No! Ooh, bring back Pawnette. I would totally, I'd put that up for... it would be like we have to hit a milestone by a certain day, and then if we hit that milestone by that day, then tomorrow, Pawnette will arrive.
Well, hey, it's a good thing that our cold open featuring Pawnette didn't get made then in the end, otherwise we would have given that away for free. You may notice in today's show, I'm not sure if we really actually spoke about this at all, but today's show, there's no segments. Harv Pawn, the talk show that's unique for having pre-recorded segments, today has had no segments because we are just so focused on KPE4, and also maybe we didn't have any content, but we're just so focused on KPE4 we wanted to reserve the entire show to discuss this topic. And honestly, it's a good thing we did because we have had more than enough to talk about throughout all this, I would say. There's so many different parts
Well, and we
going on
didn't
with the show.
even like consult Houston on the thing either. Houston, do you have any good
Oh, yeah.
ideas for KPE4?
What? Oh, God, I spilled coffee all over. Thanks.
Okay.
God damn it, Houston.
That's all.
You should be paying attention. 2 mils, someone gets their arms surgically removed, suggests it's NG.
I don't know. That's kind of low stakes because I can do that now. Done.
Or how about I just like inject Botox into, actually I'll try that now. Just there we go. And then just over time the hand just kind of swells and becomes like far bigger than it should be. Head amputation. I've really set us onto a certain path down here, haven't I? forget body modifications, okay? Other donations. We've had singing and dancing so far, like Kerbal Polar Expedition, renowned worldwide for its famous singing. Virtual Polar Expedition in VR with the controllers. I was dancing practically all the way through that. So what's next?
I will, okay, at a certain amount of money, I will, after many years of having given it up and telling my father I never would again, I will do hamster style.
What the hell is hamsters?
It's an Orgasmo joke. It's an Orgasmo reference.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm too young, naive to understand porn.
Everybody else is too. I'm old.
Good. Tits for porn, tits for Harv, says Hologram. This is getting out of hand. Charles Tucker says EE can sing now. Couldn't EE always sing? I'm sure EE had a lovely singing voice. But is that a thing now? Is he karaokeing it up in his videos?
I actually like the idea. I mean, we've had a couple of good ideas here. I would love to do some drag if the dollars came in. But I think it's a good idea to focus on in-game stuff.
Yeah,
it really does just pull the whole thing together that we're trying to do a thing and we can't do it unless you guys help, and then we get the donations, and then we can this, and then we can that.
Like, for instance, my correction says it would be cool if whenever someone donates, you get 50, or if someone donates $50 plus, orbital bombardment happens. Yeah, it's so you can either phrase it as a protagonistic or an antagonistic thing where, yeah, if you donate, you get to halt the progress of the stream by like throwing obstacles in our way. And then we're all like, oh no, someone donated, which is maybe not the ethos and the theme we're going for. Maybe it should be like, hey, donate this much and you help us with the care packages. But I like the idea of just in-game events. Like when people are designing their crafts, we say, hey, make sure you bring along something special because we'll set a donation milestone for your craft to do its special thing. Or we're going to have like a game, like a football game. We set up an improvised pitch. Someone brings along 2 goalposts and someone else brings a ball, and then we're driving the rovers around trying to do football. Like,
yeah.
There's lots of in-game events that could take place in KSP because it's such a, well, KSP 1, and I'm sure KSP 2 won't go back on this, such a sandbox that you can do anything in, really. It's amazing that I felt like I ran out of content to make.
I've been thinking about, the thing is, with Harv Pawn and Cluster Truck and Might, none of which anybody actually cares about but me. But with those live
care.
streams, it feels as though I don't have a great deal of room. But I actually feel like it would be fun and a good time to start up like a fresh career mode on just the live streams and just start going through career mode again. I feel like I did that once before, and I said we're going to the end of the game this time. We got a certain distance. I said, all right, that's enough. But
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was
me too. I
also
did the exact same thing.
I was also like, it's just a different me too. It was just kind of pushing things that didn't quite fit together and feeling a certain obligation to do this and do that and make this kind of thing happen and the other thing happen. And I feel like nowadays it'd just be fun. It'd just be enjoyable. Start up a career mode, start
Yeah.
from scratch, and just go.
Yeah, I agree. And to be fair, I'm like this close to recording another KSP 1 video even, because we got to wait ages for KSP 2 now.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't think that a career mode let's play is what I want to do, because last time I did a career mode let's play, or tried to, and got 6 episodes in and stopped. I felt so out of touch with the game because I haven't played it in so long. And I just felt like I was redoing all of the old stuff that I would have done years before. And all of the new systems, I was kind of like, oh, is this a thing? I don't know. I don't want to seem like an idiot. I'm just going to do what I know. So it would be nice for me to go back and just spend some time with the game without the stress of that first. And then be like, oh, yeah, actually, there's a whole load of new stuff that I've not seen. This is cool. But I really see myself just going straight back into the sandbox mode and accomplishing those like interesting, unique challenges rather than limiting that creativity with like, well, first we have to get into orbit. But that's very much like a personality dependent kind of thing. But
Yeah,
like
I'm a
similarly,
speedrunner. I like to have structure and form, and I just want, like. But the thing would be is that like you go through the career mode. For me, you get started in the career mode, and then by progressing through the career mode, you earned the right to do things that don't matter to career mode anymore. You set up your satellite network and this and that and the other thing.
No,
And then it's like, today
like
we're going to
I definitely think that
make a soccer field next to the
idea of
VAB.
I love the idea of career mode because suddenly doing all those things is much more meaningful because there's the limitation that I had to do all of this crap before I could finally do the thing I wanted to do. Like in Minecraft. I think Minecraft Creative is great, but it's a very different appeal to Minecraft Survival. And I very rarely play Minecraft Creative, but I do occasionally go back to Minecraft Survival. So I can see the appeal of career mode, but like it's NG has just said in the chat, I feel like KSP1 never really balanced their career mode well, and that maybe it wasn't just that I was a bit out of touch with the game, but that it was just a bit too tedious to get there and to be able to do the more adventurous things. Maybe I'm just a scrub and I need to get good. I used to be king of KSP from a technical point of view, and now I'm not even a novice. I haven't even played the game as it stands right now. So
Yeah, no, I agree
we'll have to see.
that the balance was lacking. It was a randomized, with parameters and stuff, but a randomized handing out of the missions, and it just felt like, at a certain point you're just doing things. It felt like the game didn't even have any idea what you should do. Like you go to the mission control and they're like, you could put another satellite in a similar orbit, but it's different because it's to this degree. It's like, okay, thanks for that. Yeah, I was looking for something exciting. No, same thing I did last time.
Definitely tacked on too far in the game's development, which KSP2, as we've already discussed on the show, in our show, which was entirely about KSP2, that's going to be in there from the start this time. So the balancing and all that should be way better for that. So that kind of brings us, remarkably, we've managed to cover pretty much everything I think I wanted to talk about. The only one point that is too late to go into now, but maybe we can kind of quickly think about, was distilling the format down to its fundamentals. But I feel like we've basically done that anyway.
Yeah, I think we came up with a lot of really good stuff here in terms of how it can lay out, how the donations can relate to in-game progression, what the different streamers' roles will be throughout it. Splitting up the charities is a great idea, allowing us to have more impact across a more diverse area than just being, this one charity and that's all it's going to be. Lots of good stuff came out of this, and very much off of the ideas from chat and just bouncing things off of you guys. So thank you very much for your good ideas today.
Yes, absolutely, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the show. Just before we finish off, Chartucker has suggested personal videos of me, basically. Areas of my life outside of the YouTube thing. And this is an interesting question that I kind of want to pitch you. With the face cam reveal, I wonder how you even categorize that type of thing. Personally revealing kind of videos outside of the game's content and whatnot, more we as people and the kind of the people behind the personalities and whatnot, work great for donation milestones in theory, because it's like, this is something that you wouldn't normally have access to. This is like extra content that we're unlocking by reaching a threshold. That's great. But I'm paranoid to focus too much on that kind of thing for this now, because of my years of not making content for KSP, because of my reduction in audience now. I feel like fewer people than ever before, for at least in like the previous 4 years, are watching for me and what's behind the KSP and the videos I'm making. Which isn't to say that there aren't people. Obviously, Chartucker, thank you for being here for me. And I've got several viewers, many viewers even, who are interested in kind of who I am and the personality and whatnot. But when we're appealing across audiences, across different YouTubers and Twitch streamers and guests and co-hosts, is it that it's another good thing to add to the mix? Is it that it's like a perfect kind of ideal milestone reward? Or is it just doesn't quite fit with the theme of it being about the game and the event and the charity? What do you think about those type of donation milestones? And that sounded like some bits from Random Aim.
Those are some
1
bits
over
from
n
Random
of the
Aim.
n weeks of this month. Have it and don't spend it all on wigs. Well, you can spend your half of it on wigs if you so desire. Half of it goes to me.
And I will.
But yeah, what do you think about... Thank you very much, by the way, 100 bits. Thank you so much, Random Aim.
Yeah,
What do you
think
think
it
about
is something
that?
to lean more into the game. But this would also... Oh, thank you so much. My creations.
Another 100 bits.
Following it up. Nuh-uh, I'm number 1. Now he's got 101 bits in. All right, cheer war. We got to keep the stream going for another couple hours.
Let's go. Let's keep
Perfect.
the momentum up. The forward progression. Character donation. Harv and Pawn. Harv and Pawn. We're a charity. We need money. Done that bit already.
That also, like, kind of hinges on what the involvement of the publisher is, I would say, because
Yes.
if it's going to be more our event and it's not, a marriage kind of a thing, then it feels a little bit more open to be like, hey, it's going to be our communities showing up. It's going to be people who know us. We'll do that. But if you're going to be involved and this is going to be about the game, then we will refocus and retask and focus more on bringing it back to being about the game and about the charities, as opposed to, leaning into those, pubic hair reveal or whatever would come next. I don't know.
We definitely invite limitations upon ourselves by involving Private Division, especially if we're going early access and getting preview versions of the game. They are going to be concerned about portraying the game in its best light. And so showing off Chicken Keeper's pubes, just to choose a random person, maybe not what Chicken Keeper almost certainly doesn't want, and probably definitely not what Private Division want to see on their
Feet.
event that they're sponsoring.
Feet.
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 No.
Feet.
No.
Feet.
No.
Yeet for feet. Feet yeet.
No. No, Pawn.
Enderspins was going to suggest showing feet. Feet.
I think this is a good point to end. I think we've exhausted our creative rope.
We've
We've
given
let
ourselves
Pawn
just
go on
enough
too
creative
long.
rope to hang from.
Yes. So there's a lot to consider here. We've gone through a lot of things. I feel like, honestly, I went into this hoping to get ideas for the show, and I've come out of it with a million ideas for the show. So this is awesome. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched, who has contributed their suggestions, their thoughts, their opinions, their ideas. I feel like we've really begun to narrow it down. We didn't even talk about alternative. Oh, 10 bits. Thanks. We appreciate that. We didn't even talk about like other ways that the event could go completely. Like, what if it's not rovers? What if it's entirely boats? What if it's entirely planes? What if it's entirely in orbit around different planets? And some of that, I think, was because of the expectation that KPE, North Pole, on the terrain of the planet. But also, that's how the event has gone, and that really has worked. And there's already so many ways to change it up with the multiplayer and with the new parts that are coming and with the other mechanics that KSP2 will inevitably introduce, that maybe it's not such a bad thing that it essentially stays the same from driving rovers' point of view. So we've got some good ideas there. We've talked about my contact with Private Division, how that's going to go. I've now have a load of things to say in the meeting, and I can point to this stream and be like, hey, we asked the people are interested in this. And so that saves me.
It's also a good restriction on when it comes to that meeting and talking to them about it is, if we do focus on rovers, we're showing this tiny portion of the game. So it's like we're not giving away your game before release. We're not showing everybody the ins and outs. They're not getting the massive footage. What they're seeing is a rover driving over terrain for hours and hours and hours over the course of a week.
This will be crucial as well with how early we get the game, I feel, because if they've got multiplayer, which I feel like if anything, multiplayer is going to be 92 bits from Ender's Ment again. Thank you so much for that.
100, 101, and 102.
Oh, he's taken first now. 102. The war. Let's keep it going. Thanks for the bits, man. We really appreciate it. But damn, I forgot what I was going to say. I was on a roll. Yes, how early we get the release. Say hypothetically that multiplayer and terrains are like the two features that they have really got and are really good. Then they might be really happy to give us that early. I feel like those are two of the harder things in the development of the game. Certainly multiplayer definitely is. So we're going to have to wait and see. Once I know more details, once I've managed to talk to Anais, if you're watching, have a meeting with me. Let's have a phone call and hash out a plan and get your input. Whoa, mic reactions with 69 bits. Nice.
Mike Reactions. I swear you called him Mike Erections earlier. You gotta get this right, Harv. Oh wait, Harvey? Harvey, are you okay? Harvey, are you okay? I think Harvey may have he may no longer be with us.
That the stream happens.
Oh, he's back.
Am I talking over you? Cool.
No, you were frozen, and we couldn't hear anything you said for a while. Welcome back to this quantum reality. It's nice to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You
I've used
well
1 gig of
across
my
the
mobile
dimensions.
data so far. I checked.
We really
1
need to
gigabyte. Yeah.
But Endersman's just cheered 318 bits and just way in the lead now.
What?
I don't know. I think I might win with this
Whoa.
one. Uh-oh. Flexing. Weird flex, but thanks for the money.
on all of us. We appreciate it. Half of it is going to get... Your money will be put to good use.
Okay, yeah, there's sunspots now flaring up, Harvey. We need to go before you catch on fire or something.
Oh man. Yeah, I was gonna say I think it probably got drowned out by my mobile data. Please remember, if this is your first time watching the show because you're watching because of KPE and Kerbal Space Program 2, and you've made it all the way to the end of these 2 hours,
You're a trooper.
that's a pretty good indication that you will enjoy more of what we have to say, and not just about Kerbal Space Program and about KPE4. Harv and Pawn happens every week on Wednesdays, 9 p.m. UK time and 4 p.m. Eastern time. And we talk about all sorts of stuff. We've got clips to run during the show.
Talk about how Oculus saved the second generation of VR. There's so much that we have to talk about in the future.
Yes, and yeah, about that specifically, I have a point that I'll make to you after now because I'm just desperately trying to wrap this up so I can go to sleep. But we talk about a lot of things on the show, not just KSP, all sorts of gaming, technology, philosophical, maybe political in the future, maybe not, who knows. Various things, and we did a poll recently. I released a video today, several hours ago, asking you what you want to see from Harv and Pawn in order to feel like you're getting your money's worth for all the bits that have been donated in the stream, for all the patrons that support us at patreon.com/harvandpawn. What is it that makes you guys feel like that's worth it, that supporting us is worthwhile? We ran a poll. The results are in. Voting on discussions for us to talk about is number one by a little bit of a margin as well. So voting on discussions is a thing that will be happening for Harv and Pawn. So pledge on Patreon or subscribe on Twitch. And we need to figure out a way of bringing together Twitch subscribers in order to vote. There might be a Discord or something set up at some point. Not sure
Nothing's easy.
how that's going to work exactly. Nothing is easy in this life at all. But if it wasn't easy, it wouldn't be worth doing it. And that's our motto for why we're making Harv and Pawn so difficult for ourselves to make. So any support that you can toss our way, we'll really appreciate it. It helps keep the show going, and it will help feed us until we do KPE4, at which point we can then collapse and donate everything to charity and just recede back into the Zen monastery and make our livelihood by cooking soup.
I don't remember any of the mantras.
Yeah, this is my favorite one.
Yeah, it's a good Klingon rap, isn't
it? Oh, donation milestone. I'll beatbox live on stream.
Hey!
Yeah. Hey! Awesome stuff. So yes, any more suggestions, ping them to us either in Twitch chat right now or maybe on the comment of this video when this video gets released. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. We have been Harv and Pawn, and we hope that you enjoy and that you join us again next week for more quality content. Thanks for watching, and we shall see you next week. Harv, Pawn, Harv, Pawn, Harv and Pawn, and 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 Harv and Pawn. Harv and Pawn.